This is Ion Sullivan. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike McGuire. I'm the host of Ion Sullivan. I'm joined today, as we are each week, by the chairman, Rob Doherty. Happy summer, Rob.
It is hot. Let me tell you, we just went through a cooker.
We went through a cooker, and with all of your restaurant experience, we know that this is not your favorite weather.
This is not my favorite weather.
A little rain.
Little rain.
Little 60s.
Well, my perfect weekend in the Catskills is a very sunny Friday.
Right.
Okay? And so then people down on the island and the city are like, we got to go upstate.
We're heading up.
All right? And then around, 10 o'clock in the morning, clouds roll in. Mm-hmm. Well, nothing to do. Let's go eat.
Let's go eat. Let's go out for breakfast.
That's my perfect ideal weekend.
Well, Sullivan County lost one of its true characters over the weekend. Someone you know and I know, Chris Kaler.
I knew him since I was a little boy. We were friends. So when I was a little kid, I was a summer kid in Smallwood. Yep. Mm-hmm. I lived on West Sullivan Place.
Right.
And his grandparents lived on... I lived on East Sullivan Place, and his grandparents lived on West Sullivan Place. Okay, the second house in, I believe, on the left, the White House there. And, kids of the neighborhood, we hung out. Hey. I mean, I know him since I'm like 7, 8 years old. Mm-hmm. He was at his grandparents' house a lot. I believe his father was in a hotel upstate New York. Mm-hmm. And he spent a lot of time with his grandparents. Very nice people. Yep. And, I knew Chris very well. Unfortunately, he did not live the most pristine life. Nope. And
lost a leg.
Yeah. He got
had some diabetes. But someone that was real rough on the outside, but really had a bit of a heart of gold.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And he's a guy that he plowed my driveway for years and wound up living up the road from me and would come over asking to help. So we'll miss another of the characters of Sullivan County.
Yeah.
And we wish we send our condolences out to his family. I want to go into a little bit. So we're in July now.
Okay.
And we know at the end of July is when the budget process really starts. That's when department heads...
Whoa. That's when Josh starts the budget process.
Right.
But Brian McPhillips, as the head of OMB 2 years in a row,
right,
has not had one meeting,
right,
okay, with any of the departments other than regular committee meetings. As you know, George used to have, the 5 big, guys come in, and whether it was when Megan was the head of the DA's office, Ed McAndrew, the sheriff's
family
department,
services, social services,
social services. These are the people who drive most of your expenses in the county.
Well, they're big departments employee-wise. We know wages is the biggest expense that the county has, and they also are. If you look at like Public Works, their non-wages budget is pretty substantial, as is the sheriff office.
Correct.
They got multiple cars, and we got paving of roads, so we don't budget for that.
Everything else, yeah.
So those are important in terms of the core mission of the county.
Correct.
And George and his committee would bring them in, and they were not pro forma meetings. Those were situations where you had to present your budget.
Correct.
And for the most part, under your leadership, the entire legislature was there. Very seldom would a member miss a meeting. And George was remarkable. I mean, he had a steel trap. And someone would raise something, and he would say, wait a minute, on line 216 of your budget, you asked for A, B, or C. So that was important because when the budget would start to take shape in October and November, the legislators were already familiar with what was in it, and it had been vetted. Correct. So your second look at it wasn't foreign. You knew why there was $10 million in Ed McAndrew's budget for paving. You knew that.
Correct.
So
and it was only that, so you would look at, paving, for example, right? Let's say you're going to spend $17 million on paving, okay? But then there's $6 million in road work, right? And you're like, well, you're paving. What's this other $6 million for? Well, we got to do this culvert for next year. We have to do this ditch for next year. And it was all about prepping the roads for the following year. Now, keep in mind, before my legislature, they used to bond for that.
Yeah, the county did not budget for roads.
Correct.
They just would do the budget, a bit of a sleight of hand.
Yeah.
And then they would slide in a loan.
Oh, we're going to get a sleight of hand in a
minutes.
second after we get into
we're
this.
It'll be Ziegfeld and Roy.
Oh, well. So, as you know, most people know, there was an article by the River Reporter.
Right.
That came out last week, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find a date on this thing. On June 29th, okay, by Patrick Kelly. It's a well-written article. Josh Potosik, the county manager, is quoted heavily in this. And Kathleen Lara, who's carrying the water for the Democratic-led legislature, is quoted heavily in this as well.
So I want to stop there for just a minute because I want to get your observations on this because as chairman of the county legislature, you were not involved in the budget process. You were intimately involved every day. You would be in Josh's office for hours.
Correct.
Every day.
Correct.
So it's a very interesting headline here. Sullivan County eyes property tax increase over low sales tax revenue. I find it remarkable that the legislature's talking points now are that, well, the sales tax is low, suggesting and offering the inference that this was something that was unforeseen. COVID was unforeseen.
Correct.
When you took over.
And keep in mind, that was the only year that we went to the cap.
Correct.
Okay. Every other year, 2 of the years we were negative. So we produced a negative budget. Okay.
Right.
And then 1 year we won't go into my good friend Mikey Brooks.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But you know how that story went down.
So this is interesting because, folks, I was listening to a national podcast, and their point there was stupid is a choice. And it really is applicable to the way many people approach their most valuable asset they have as a citizen, and that is the right to vote.
Correct.
Now,
yeah, just a quick tip, quick piece of information. Sullivan County votes at a rate of 30% of registered voters, okay? And we are considered high.
We're considered high. So this headline is put there not by accident. That is the talking point. That is a talking point by the people in the county building. This headline is done because it is relying upon the likelihood is that stupid is a choice that we take.
Correct.
Because the sales tax revenue being low in June and July was a fact that was well known to the legislature in November and December
of last year, correct.
When they overestimated sales tax to artificially deflate the tax implications of their mismanagement. Okay, so take us through that.
So let's just get some facts, okay? So when Josh presents the initial budget in mid-November, early to mid-November of last year.
Of 25.
Total revenues were projected to be $255 million.
Okay, that's total revenues. That's taxes, that's sales tax, property tax.
So the tax levy is about $80 million, okay? And then there's grants and other funds that come in.
That was a trivia question, by the way, that not many people knew the answer to when you asked it one day in a meeting.
Yeah, correct. So there's fees that are collected, like in Russell's office and other offices. Fees that the tax collectors assess as you pay your taxes late and all that fun stuff. Okay, so
total revenue,
right? Was $255 million. And the tax increase was going to be 9.8, I believe, okay? Whatever it was 9 point something, okay?
And to be clear, Josh really worked to get it from 15 down to 9.
In fact, Brian McPhillips, the head of OMB, stated,
right,
this budget is not correct. It should be around 15%.
Right. Now listen, folks.
But votes for a 2%. But votes for a 2% budget.
Right.
And says, I don't like this budget. Oh, by the way, Brian, you could have said no because all the Republicans voted no, and that would have left the county at a standstill, and the budget would have went to Josh, the expert, and he would have put forth.
But it would have been 9, and they didn't want to shoulder the responsibility for what they had done. So they set out a budget without telling anybody. By the way, we've overestimated. It would be like a county employee that makes $65,000 setting their household budget for $125,000 and then being shocked at not being able to pay their bills the second half of the year.
We're getting into this building material lie, and it's a flat out lie in a second. But so the initial budget comes out at $255. Okay,
right. The revenue projection.
Correct. What gets put in and voted on and accepted is $280 million.
An extra $25 million.
So somewhere they said in a month and a half they found $25 million more in revenue. Okay?
It's an amazing thing.
By the way, they didn't find it, and now that is getting compounded over the next year, which is now this year, and now they're looking at a 30% tax increase. A 30% tax increase.
And folks, listen to this. Stupid is a choice. Your elected officials knew when they voted on the budget. Brian McPhillips said it's not a great budget. They knew when they voted.
He said, I'm not happy with this budget.
Okay. They knew when they voted that they were playing a shell game with you, the taxpayers of this county.
I say this all the time, Mike. I say this all the time. Maybe I was a little rough, okay? And I've admitted to that, okay? I never lied to the people of Sullivan County.
That's right.
Not one time did I lie. I told you the unvarnished truth. This is where we're at. This is what we have to do. Okay? This is my concern was the taxpayers of this county. Okay? And now you think about a couple that's worked for this county or has a pension from somewhere, or maybe they're just living on Social Security.
Sure.
And they raised their family in a house. Mm-hmm. They've been in the house 30, 40 years. Okay?
Yeah.
Now their taxes are going to go up by 30%.
1/3.
And this is on top of the fact that their electric bills are doubling, okay? And Maddie McPhillips, who works for NYSEG, Maddie NYSEG has not lifted a finger to help anybody with this. But meanwhile, he lives in a $500,000 house in a gated community and takes insurance from our county, okay? And he hasn't lifted a finger to help a soul in this county, but he profits on it. This is what disgusts me. This is why I get a little hot, okay?
You get hot when you believe that there are elected officials that are perpetrating a fraud on the people of this county.
They are profiting off of people's pain.
Yeah.
And acting like, oh, I don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Look, you're choosing to keep your head in the sand.
Sure.
Okay. You got the same information I got. Okay. Mm-hmm. I would get the stuff on Friday, like every other legislator, mm-hmm. right? And then I spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Well, Saturday and Sunday also.
Saturday, Sunday also. Tracking down that information.
Right.
Okay. And tracking down that information to make sure it was either accurate or I don't understand what this means. Okay. There is no way you can know what everything means. It's almost impossible.
Correct.
Okay. So you go to the professionals and you say to them, I don't understand what this means. What are the implications of this? Okay.
And then you go to the commissioners and the department heads and you'd ask them.
And you ask them questions, mm-hmm. right? And you figure stuff out. Then you have a better rapport with them also, by the way.
Right.
So then when there is a question or you want something to go the better way because you have a vision, okay? What happens with commissioners, they're worried about keeping their job also, okay?
Sure.
But as you know, when I sat down with you when I was elected but not sat yet,
right?
Okay, in your kitchen, and I laid out my vision for the county.
That's right.
Okay, and I said this is where we can go. Okay, I will tell you this right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I was still in office,
right,
you would not have had 6% in tax increases yet. Okay.
Correct.
And by the end of my term, your total will have been 8% or less. Okay. These guys are going to hit you this year. They're going to knock your socks off. There's 3 options. They're either going to tax you
into oblivion,
where people are going to lose their homes. They're going to use the few dollars left in the fund balance that I left.
Which means you're mortgaging the future.
You're mortgaging your future, and you're setting up a bond situation, okay? Or B or C, you're going to bond us into oblivion.
Which means, folks, I was at the first meeting in 24 when they took office. Mm-hmm. Why was I there? I was there because the law requires that the county have a county attorney. And even though they had said to me, you're not being brought back, they had no county attorney. So the law required me to be there. I was there just because that was my obligation.
Correct.
I didn't sit on a dais or anything. They went on and on and on about how we're now committed to the employees of the county and they're going to stop working on eggshells. Folks, when you start bonding for everything, you can forget about getting money put back to the employees because it's not there.
Hold on a second. They're committed to the employees?
Right.
They're not walking on eggshells anymore?
Right.
Okay. By the way, they're asking for a 10% pullback in every office in the county.
Yeah.
You know what that means? Employees are going to be getting fired.
It has to.
Okay. You're down 6,000 jobs.
Right.
In 2.5 years countywide. And now you're telling, okay, so you take the Office of Grants. Mm-hmm. That's 3 employees.
Right.
How do they give you a 10%?
Well,
kickback?
Most offices, if you walk around the government center, most offices, they got copier paper. Lauren Green takes care of the copy machines. They're all leased. You don't have 10% without going to wages. I didn't in the county attorney's office.
Okay, so they've settled 2 contracts, which was probation and the management of LIU, okay? Which is combined, I think we're at 30 people here, okay? I think you're at 30 people combined. You are in arbitration currently with 4 unions. You only have 8 unions. 2 are settled and 4 of them you're in. They promised the road patrol that they would get them down to 20 years. That's not going to happen, right?
20 years for retirement.
20 years for retirement.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Can't.
Total lie, okay? They push back. So remember that great contract that we gave the CSEA? Oh, people are making less money today on an approved contract than when they were on the old contract.
And your plan, by the way, on that, for the CSEA members that are listening, and I know the number do, there was a 2-step process there.
Correct.
When you laid down that budget and settled it, you had already planned and set the groundwork for the next budget.
Correct.
Now they're below what your first budget was.
Correct. You're
going backwards.
But when
have we seen this before? I think that a 7-year budget, a 7-year contract was settled under the previous administration.
So one member said, we settled a 7-year contract.
Yeah.
So you didn't settle a 7-year contract. You were given a 3-year-old contract.
Right.
Made it a 7-year contract and gave out 2 zeros.
Right.
Right? You put guys backwards.
You hurt them.
You hurt them badly. You know what it takes to get past a zero? Ray still talks to me about the Teamsters about a zero from 12 years ago.
When you take a zero, you're not making the same money. You're making less money. Why? Well, Matty Niceg takes care of a good chunk of it, and the grocery store takes care of a good chunk of it. The gas station takes care of a good chunk of it. We got folks that work in the county that live in the outer reaches of the county or even out of the county, which means they're spending a lot of money, a lot of miles to get to work.
Correct.
And so you're actually making less money because you're taking the same salary, but it doesn't buy as much.
Correct. So this legislature lied to the people to get down to 2%. Now here's the funny thing about that, Mike. Mm-hmm. So their first budget, I believe, was 2.5. Okay, 2.5% increase.
Right.
Their second budget,
and that was coming off of the budget that you left them, which was smooth sailing.
It was my budget.
Right.
It was my budget. It's the one I gave them.
Right.
Okay. They didn't have to do anything. They just had to sit there. Okay.
Right.
And not mess it up, which they did. Okay.
Right.
Then the next year on the lie, they gave you 2%. So that's 4.5% in 2 years. Mm-hmm. In my administration, we raised taxes 3.83% in 4 years.
Right.
Okay. So now imagine Now imagine you got this tax bill, right? Now imagine if I didn't take off the solid waste fee.
Right.
You'd be paying on that also. I retired the solid waste fee, ahead of its time. That would still be on here right now, and you'd still be paying on that.
And the electric fee.
I'm the one that took that off, guys. Right. You're in better shape today because of Rob Doherty than you are because of these real... Oh, by the way, but they're nice guys.
Yeah, well, and let's remind that the Democrats opposed sunsetting those. Well, maybe we should hold on to it, and we can build up our fund balance. Why would we hold on to it?
So these are this is the same group who lied to you, right? By $25 million. But the one thing still intact is the discretionary legislative discretionary fund.
Sure.
Right. So they're still handing out free money to people, right? Well, people are going to lose their homes. I mean, because they
but Lumberland, we're getting a new flagpole for $10,000.
For $10,000, a flagpole for $10,000. That probably costs $3,000, but here's $10,000, and just so you know, you can't take the money and be like, oh, it only costs $3,000. I'm gonna pocket the other money. No, you have to spend the money on the project.
But when you view your job as getting elected, you can go out on the campaign trail and say anything you want, and people say, oh, he's a nice guy. He's got great ideas. But you can't implement any of them.
Correct.
We're making a big deal now about the new mayor in New York City. Well, folks, he's not the first guy to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. This legislature is now saying, oh, sales tax revenue is down. We had no way of knowing. You had a way of knowing. It's only down because you overinflated it in the beginning.
Correct. So let's get into that lie. And this is a flat-out lie, okay? So my first year in office, sales tax...
This is 2020,
correct,
which is highlighted by March of 2020. Correct. Two things happened. You had a date with Destiny at NYU, and COVID hit about 2 weeks later.
Oh, the same day. I remember.
Well, your surgery was March 2nd.
Yeah. So as Cifolio,
Dr.
Cifolio, the great doctor from NYU, was drawing on my back, where he was going to cut me open.
Right.
He was talking to me and my wife about how he had told the governor at the time, Andrew Cuomo, that this is all bollocks and that this is, you guys are overblowing this, that this can be controlled and we don't need to take these drastic measures. And the governor hung up on him. Keep in mind, this is the guy who's the #1 thoracic surgeon in the world. This is the guy...
He knows a little bit about lungs.
He knows a little bit about lungs. This is the guy who is the dean of the teaching school at NYU. Okay? This is the guy who is the vice president of all the hospitals for NYU. That guy knows something about something.
Well, he famously said, you can go to another doctor. It'll be no problem because he's probably reading the textbook I wrote.
Correct. He was pretty clear on that.
Yeah, so that was March 2nd. So by March 15th or 20th, we're shut down. We're in the throes of COVID. Yeah, it's game on.
Right? And we won't get into the whole COVID situation.
But that was unforeseen.
Okay. So they're sitting there. So my last year, I believe it's $78 million. Okay. And then their first year, it's $81 million. Okay.
The tax levy.
No. The amount of sales tax.
Oh, sales tax. Okay.
So they had more money than I've ever had. Okay.
Right. And that first year was the first time we had George here as a guest.
Correct.
That was the first time that sales tax eclipsed property tax.
Correct.
As the top of our revenue stream.
Correct. So how did that happen? It happened because my legislature created an economic environment where people want to invest in our county. Okay? Why is it going down? Because people no longer want to invest in our county.
Correct.
And when you have a guy like Matt McPhillips, who's the chair of economic development and goes 15 out of 22 months as the chair of economic development and does not put up a single resolution, not a single resolution, and then turns around and says, we're in a tough economic spot. You didn't do anything to drive it. You did zero to drive it.
Well, that's the thing is that economic development is not just passing a budget. I mean, if you set out across the lake in a boat and you're 1 degree off, and you're aiming for the other side of White Lake, you want to go by the White Lake Firehouse, and you leave by Cunningunga Lake, and you're 1 degree off, you're never going to get there.
Correct.
You've got to make corrections as you go.
Correct.
The problem here is that you were constantly monitoring through Josh, through Janet.
Correct.
Where are we at? What adjustments do we need to make? Clearly no adjustments were ever made because they passed a budget that was fundamentally based on a lie.
It was flawed, yeah.
And
correct.
they've done nothing. They've just ignored it, expecting that June and July was going to come and all of a sudden money would miraculously appear.
I mean, the treasurer of our county says that we're going into our busy season and hopefully the revenues will go up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kathleen Lara is a personal friend of mine, and I like her a lot. But Kathleen, stop carrying the water for these people, okay?
Right.
The bottom line is this. It's based on an annual basis.
Correct.
It's not 10 weeks, okay?
Right.
You're not making up $13 million, okay?
Not in 10 weeks.
That's baked into the cake already.
Correct.
We already know where that's going. But now to this continued lie of it's building materials, okay?
Okay, so the lie is that we're down in sales tax, not because we artificially inflated it to fool the people of the county. It's down because the sale of building materials is down.
Correct.
So take it from there.
Okay, so that premise is a lie, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There was not one day
Right.
that I was in office, okay? Not one day, 4 years of me being in office, that sales tax was the number one generator of sales tax in our county.
No. That building materials was not the number one.
I'm sorry. That building materials was the number one generator. Not one single day.
Correct.
Not a day. It never got above 3, okay? At one point, I think it was 3, but I don't think that's correct. I'd have to go back and look at it, but automobile sales was always number 1, okay? And why is that, okay? Automobile sales are number 1 because all the Hasidics register this as their home, okay?
Right.
So even though they're only summer residents, when you buy a car, the sales tax goes to your home county.
Right.
That's
You
how it works.
go to Healy Chevrolet in Newburgh.
Yeah.
We're getting the sales tax on that when you register the car.
Correct. So when
In fact, we had somebody that bought an airplane.
correct. The
The sales tax come to us.
sales tax come to us, right?
And by the way, you actually negotiated that.
Correct.
The guy was looking to come to the airport, and you were like, "Well, you're buying a new plane. You got to register it in Sullivan County." Well, I live in.
No.
You register in Sullivan County, or have a nice day.
Correct.
And that's negotiation.
Correct.
That's making corrections.
I negotiated that deal in a room full of people.
Correct.
Right? There had to be 20 people in the room that time. And I negotiated that deal in front of people. The finance guy for that organization,
Yep.
at the end of the meeting, comes over to me and says, "You know how I know you're honest? I've never negotiated with a government official in a room full of 20 people,
Right.
and you had no problem. You know,
Right.
there was no sleight of hand. There was nothing." I've always been honest with the people of Sullivan.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So now these people who are defrauding the county. Okay. I mean, at the very least, it's malpractice what they're doing. Okay.
I mean,
So-
it's just
so-
you can't say sales tax is down when you overly inflated it.
But you can't take a 1-year bump.
Right.
Okay. You can't not take an aberration.
Right.
Okay. So that's like saying, let's say you take a 220 hitter. Okay.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. And he has, a weekend series where he goes, let's say he gets up 4 times in a 4-game set, right? And he goes 12 for 16. Okay.
Yep.
Is he a 750 hitter?
Yeah. Well, he is for those 4 games.
Okay. But when you put it over the long haul of 500-600 at bats,
It's not gonna be.
Okay, that's not the case. You're a 220 hitter.
Correct.
Okay, and so I remember. Yeah, I'm sure you went this with your boys when you're following teams and you're
Sure.
following specific players.
Yep.
It's a long season, son.
long season.
It goes up and down the whole time. Don't
Ebbs
worry
and
about
flows,
it.
not to
right?
worry about it.
That's when it goes, right? I mean, they're basing our whole budget, our whole future, based on a 1-year aberration.
Right.
One single year. I believe Josh says the biggest declines in sales tax is building materials. Poteslik said that while other areas have remained steady. So the rest of the economy is steady, according to Josh. Mm-hmm. Sales tax for the building material categories are down 50 to 60%. Okay? Why wasn't that figured out before?
And if the rest of the categories are there, they generally go hand in hand.
Correct. So the problem we're having here now is that they took a 1-year aberration.
Right.
And they say this is what this category is forever.
That's the outlier. Okay? They take the outlier.
Right? But now they're political people.
Oh, they're political.
Okay. Everyone knows that if you took 10 polls, right? You take the highest and the lowest, and you kick them out. You throw them out. Okay, mm-hmm. The highest and the lowest are gone, right?
Yep.
You take the Siena poll, mm-hmm. gone. And then you take some other poll, gone, and then you average the 8, right?
Right.
And then you come up with a somewhat number. These guys took a 1 year, but that's my point, Mike. They're too lazy to do the work. They have one piece of information from 3 years ago, and they're trying to recycle that information over and over and over.
But there's no reason to do the work because they were able to use that piece of information to defraud the people. I mean, if they say, well, Mike banks at KeyBank, and KeyBank was held up, therefore Mike must have held up KeyBank. I mean, there are those that would say that.
Well, you have been accused of many crimes. But not bank robbery.
Not bank robbery yet. Okay. But that's the point, is that they're taking an isolated fact, which is how you distort reality, folks. They're taking an isolated fact.
But it is their reality.
Well, their reality is get reelected.
Okay? But because now you have to remember, these are the same people. Let's go over some facts. Let me tell you why you're in this situation. Okay? When I was in office, mm-hmm. if you did not take the county insurance, you got like $1,500.
Correct.
Okay? They changed it to $15,000. Right? So like 4 or 5 of them don't take the insurance.
Right.
And they put the money in their pocket.
Nice.
They want to enrich themselves. Okay?
Well, okay? They're coming close to doubling their salary.
Okay? So then you take the treasurer. Okay? Mm-hmm. This treasurer makes more money than Nancy Buck ever made. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so you're like, okay, it's a new person, mm-hmm. it's a new term. Okay, mm-hmm. So, okay. Her assistant makes more money than Nancy Buck ever made.
Wow.
Okay? So we had a treasurer for 20 years,
mm-hmm.
okay, who, I don't know if you've ever spoken to her about numbers and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I say she's a curator of information, okay, that it's kind of slighting her a little bit, mm-hmm. which is not intended.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit down with her, and I have for hours every week, okay?
Every week. And so did George.
And you could ask 1,000 questions. If we did this with this, what's your opinion?
Mm-hmm.
You have someone with 20 years experience.
Yep.
You talk to people in the treasurer's office now, not a legislator's been down there. Not one.
Not one.
Mikey Brooks would go down there. George would be camped out in the back,
He would go down there for hours.
And the rest of them. Mm-hmm. And doing the same thing I'm doing up front,
right.
with Lara and with,
mm-hmm.
Buck. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? We did this. What do you think this is the best move? They're so deceitful. That when Nancy Buck was about to give her swan song, mm-hmm. 20 years, she's trying to hold back the tears. She blew him up on this budget, right? She spends the first 2 minutes of her swan song blowing him up, saying this budget is a disgrace. And here we are, 7 months later, and once again, Nancy Buck is 1,000% correct. It's a disgrace because they lied to you. They distorted the truth and now, again, Kathleen Lara's a friend of mine. They're distorting the truth to you again, saying the whole problem is the building materials. It's not. It's bad management by the legislature. You could say whatever you want about Josh, okay, who I think is a genius, mm-hmm. okay? He can only do what he's told to do.
Correct.
That's all he can do,
mm-hmm.
okay? Okay? That's all he can do. I'm going to give you some quick facts here. So that's how money is going out the door. They're paying salaries that they shouldn't be paying. Okay? Then number 2, they took back the nursing home. Okay? Right? And people are like, oh, people in the county have paid into it for years. They have the right to be there and all this stuff. Okay? Just so you know, they charge you and they will take your house.
100%.
Like any other organization.
Correct.
Okay? So we take that back. So under Saul, so we went from a $12 million deficit. Then under Saul, it went down to about $3 million.
Right.
Okay? Well, we're back up to about $6 million.
And they vilified Saul for that.
Correct.
I mean, for years,
saving us $9 million.
For saving us $9 million, they vilified him that he's ripping off the county.
Okay. So we're back up to over $6 million a year it's costing us. But here's the little stat that no one tells you about. So now, as you know, census is everything in these operations.
Right.
Okay. So that place should be humming around 140. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Currently, as of yesterday morning, there's 97 people there.
So we're down 50 places.
50 places. Now, I want you to understand the difference between, Achieve, Roscoe, and us. Okay? Our labor does not change one iota. If you had one person in the building,
Yep.
as a municipality, every dollar in labor stays the same.
Right.
Every single dollar. So think about running a business. Let's say a restaurant.
Right.
Okay? All right. It's Friday night. It's storming. I have 4 waitresses on and 3 cooks. All right. 2 waitresses can go home. The hostess can go home. I'll hostess. The busser will go home. And one of the line cooks will go home. Because the revenue is not going to match the sales.
Correct.
Okay?
But that's an adjustment that you make.
Correct. In a municipality, you're not allowed to make that adjustment.
In a nursing home.
In a nursing home.
Right.
In a municipally owned nursing home, they tell you this is what you need. Oh, and by the way, here's another little factoid that people don't know.
So the idea in a nursing home, a municipally run nursing home, is you got to drive the census.
Correct. And now,
Or you got to get out of the nursing home business, which is what many of the counties, I think there's only a handful of counties that run them
There's
anymore.
only 6 left.
Yeah.
Okay? And by the way, the other 5 are wealthy as hell. So
Right.
97, we had that number during COVID. During
Right.
COVID,
Correct.
we had more people in there than we do now. That's how poorly managed this thing is. But let me give you a number, okay? 20 of those residents don't live in the county.
Oh, my God.
So let's say it's costing us $6 million a year, and those costs are going to start climbing, folks. Okay? $1.8 million a year of that money,
20%.
of our losses,
20%.
okay? $1.8 million, okay, are to people that have no affiliation with this county whatsoever.
Right.
No affiliation. They just so happen to be able to find a spot,
Right.
okay? So now we're going to lose $1.8 million to people that have nothing to do with the county. This isn't about, oh, grandpa paid into this thing for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and he deserves a spot there. That's not the game here. These 20 people don't live here. They've
Well,
never
let's
lived
talk
here.
about this, too, is that the most vocal opponent to Saul and his group was Kat Scott.
Correct.
She was the one that, after getting elected, went up to Albany and told them the new legislature is going to make changes. Don't approve their certificate of need. That certificate of need is a license that you get when you're running a medical facility.
Ambulance corps, anything
Right.
like that.
What she was essentially doing was insider trading because she had her mom there. You had your mother-in-law there at one
Yes, I
point.
did.
Okay? She had her mom there, and she was making decisions based on her mom thinking that, oh, well, I'm going to be real vocal and I'm going to get involved, and therefore I'll get better care for your mom. I have no problem with you getting better care for your mom. We all want to get good care for our moms.
Well, let me tell you something. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, was a pain in the ass. Okay? I texted her every day. I still have the text.
Yep.
Care's fine. Nurses are nice. Rooms are clean. Food is good. I mean, I would show them to Josh every day. I'd be like, And let me tell you, this woman complained about everything.
And I had a similar experience with a very close friend whose mom was there and also has since passed. And this guy, I want to tell you, you wouldn't go out to dinner with him because whatever he ordered, it would come, and it was a complaint. This is no good. He'd go to the diner and get a hamburger and he'd send it back.
He got kicked out of a local restaurant.
Correct.
For complaining.
So and his mother was worse than him. And she used to rave about the care, and he would rave about the food and the care and whatnot. But again, folks, that's the issue here, is they now are costing the taxpayers of this county an extra $6 million, and that's part of that 30% tax increase.
Correct.
So to preserve whatever you believe, and it is certainly not a well-run facility when the county was running it, now you're going to potentially cost people their homes.
Correct.
More than 77 people their homes because you decide that you're going to run the county nursing home instead of having professionals run it.
And keep in mind, the Medicaid rates have gone down.
Yep.
Okay? So, I mean, the squeeze is coming. It's going to be more and more. We're going to be at $12 million by next year. We'll be at $12 million.
And remember, when Saul took over, the county at that point had the lowest Medicare rate per person that you could have because we weren't doing anything there. It was a daycare facility.
It was basically a sleepover camp.
That's what it was. And then Saul started bringing in services so that the Medicare rate went up. And so during Saul's tenure there, our Medicaid rates went up precipitously.
Correct.
And now we're going to wait and see. They're probably going to settle back down again.
They're going to settle back down again, okay? And, you know, but what's the price they're going to pay for this? I mean, do the people of Sullivan say, wait a second, my electricity rates are through the roof. This guy works for them. My services are getting cut because there's no money. There's no one in the office. I call an office. There's no one there because they're asking for 10% pullback.
Yeah.
When labor is your main expenditure, okay, and you want a 10% pullback, where do you think it comes from?
When you have a 10% pullback in public works and you've got to get to work in the morning and your road's not plowed.
Do you know what that means? Let me tell you what that means. Mm-hmm. Okay, that means instead of they start plowing at a certain time. Okay?
Right. Usually about 2 a.m.
Correct. So now they have to save 10%.
Right.
Okay? Most of those guys are on overtime when they're plowing.
Right.
So now they start at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right. So guys like me who go to work at 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm trudging from the valley to Monticello, taking my life in my hands. Right. I mean, you just cut down. You just start cutting down on services, a little at a time. A little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from there. You go to DMV. Now the wait's longer because you don't have enough people there. You go to the clerk's office. Line's a little bit longer. You go to, whatever office you're dealing with in the government. It's going to be a little bit, oh, by the way, that means less sheriffs on the road, too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When you call for a sheriff's deputy and, when you're a landlord and you own property and you have to, unfortunately, sometimes you have to evict somebody. You currently are waiting after the court issues the eviction notice, the eviction order. Mm-hmm. You're waiting about 6-7 weeks now.
Correct.
10% down. What are you going to be waiting? Another 12 weeks?
Correct.
I mean, all of these services, folks, are going to go down. Now, these are nice people, I guess.
Nice people.
But all they're doing is they're depending upon you exercising the choice to be stupid.
Correct.
Because the evidence is all there. I want to get into one other thing. We've got just a few minutes to go. I noticed something that was posted today, and I've got to credit Joey Perello and Brian McPhillips on this because they've come up with a great idea. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great to have like an air show or a jazz festival to help bring people into the county?
You mean more events?
Like events? How come we didn't think of that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Michael. We had helped fund the Delaware Company's Found and Fish event, which is a huge event, by the way.
It was a 3-day event that packed the western part of the county.
Packed. Okay. The SCVA didn't give them a dime. Okay?
Not a dime.
Not a dime. Okay. John and Deb Conway do a great job.
Yep.
They got that thing humming again, just like they said they were going to. People of their word.
Yep.
Okay. So when we renegotiated the SCVA's contract,
gave them more than they said they needed.
correct, gave them more than they said they needed. Okay. But one of the parts of the contract was we had set up part of the way the money's dispersed goes into an account that was made up to pay either them or someone else to create events.
Well, the first part of your idea was when we saw the revenue go from about 1.2 million over to 1.2 million to over 2 million. You said, "Hey, wait a minute. Let them keep doing what they're doing. Let's fund them where they need to be. Let's get another group who's charged only with creating events."
Correct.
The idea being, well, SCVA, you're basically a marketing organization. You don't have anybody with expertise on events.
Correct.
So let's bring events. And I remember sitting in many meetings where people accused you of trying to cut the SCVA
Not
out.
at all.
You were giving them, you weren't touching their appropriation.
No, they were getting more than they asked for. We sat in the
They asked for 900,000. They were given 1.1 million.
Correct.
Well, where they asked for 900,000? You asked them, "What's your projected budget for next year?"
Correct.
They said 900,000. Okay, here's 1.1 million.
Correct.
Now we had $1 million left over, and you spent over a year trying to get the Democrats to go along with sending out an RFP for somebody to take on the events part of it.
Correct.
And they would have done, I don't know, jazz festivals? I don't know, air shows?
They would have
in
done
fact,
something.
we sat in my office and spoke with Jackie Leventoff about an air show, and she told us, "Oh, I've done air shows at our airport. It's terrific. They love it because of the size of the runway and all." What a great idea.
Correct.
But they refused to. In fact, we talked to Jackie about taking on that role
Correct.
of coordinating events.
Correct.
They would never go for it.
Correct. They didn't go for it. So what they did when they came into office, when this legislature came into office, they turned around, and so $2 million had built up in that account over the time frame that we were trying to negotiate.
Correct.
With someone to take the money.
Because for the first time, the SCVA wasn't just getting 85%.
Correct.
You gave them a budget.
Correct. So, more than they asked for. Let's keep that in mind.
Right. $200,000 a year more than they asked for. And they had a fund balance that was a couple of million, as I recall.
So, when the new legislature comes into office, they give that $2 million to the SCVA.
Right.
And every year since then, whatever money fills up in that account, they're given to the SCVA.
Now $4.8 million.
With no events, sales taxes down, and we're in worse position than we were when we started.
And they're
this
doing the same
conversation.
thing today that they did 4 years ago.
Correct.
So
absolutely nothing. So then they don't even have a sign on their building that says,
right.
Sullivan County. I mean, I was talking to Terry Bernardo over the weekend, and I was like, being up in Liberty is a waste of time. Okay, people have gone through the county already. Okay?
Correct.
I said
you could put it in Roscoe, but
I said Joe, is building a multi-million-dollar vet clinic.
Right.
Okay. He's currently in downtown Rock Hill.
Right.
Okay. Why don't we go talk to the landlord and say, hey, when he vacates,
let's go to Rock Hill.
Can we move there to Rock Hill? We're not doing some sleight of hand land swap over here. Okay.
Correct.
All right. And building a building for you. We're going to rent a facility, a building for you, right? So
they would pay the rent.
Correct. They would pay the rent. So now they've given them money. Now, last week, they gave him $1.5 million more. Okay? And we still have no results and no new events. For Brian McPhillips and Joe Perrell to sit there and say, oh, by the way, they should do events. You guys are 4 years late into the game.
Well, and
by the
I
way,
got nothing against jazz.
Joey voted against it, by the way.
Okay. But I got nothing against jazz. But they don't even understand the concept. The most successful event in this county's history for bed tax revenue and sales tax revenue, so take that 1969 concert down, they generated no sales tax.
Zero.
was a wrestling match, a wrestling tournament that I was involved in bringing it here, and then it grew and grew and grew. You couldn't get a motel room from Roscoe to Middletown.
Correct.
When they were in town, and it was age group kids, and they would come with their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles. Everybody would come. Those are the kinds of events you go to because they bring families here.
Correct.
A jazz festival. Geez, what are you going to do? You're going to put it where? In the casino or in Bethel Woods?
By the way, the casino cannot put it on any events.
Right.
Okay. Without Bethel Woods approval. Without Bethel Woods approval. Okay?
Right.
That's a fact.
Right.
The Bardavon has to approve the event at the casino. Okay.
Right.
Understand. And see, this legislature's never done their homework. They don't understand the rules of the game.
Correct.
Right.
And they don't understand that the outcome is going to be, okay, we do a jazz festival at Bethel Woods. Okay, well, you'll have the campground there at Bethel Woods. You'll have some people. But that wrestling tournament drew, I don't know, 50,000 people?
Yeah.
I mean, over 3 days.
And you couldn't eat in a restaurant.
You couldn't get in a restaurant. If you didn't book a room 3 months in advance, you were staying in Monroe.
Correct.
Because you could not get a room from Middletown to Roscoe.
Correct.
You couldn't.
Packed. Every hotel, everything was packed.
Which means all the diners were packed, all the restaurants were packed, the gas stations were all packed, everything was packed. They don't understand. They throw out a jazz festival, an air show. Okay, well, an air show is good, so you're going to have a lot of people that already live here that are going to go to the air show. Are you going to bring in 25,000 people from Long Island to come and see an air show? What's the plan? Because they have air shows all over the state, all over the East Coast.
Correct. But
they're missing it. You want to see how tourism works? Geez, there's a nice museum in Cooperstown. Is that what draws people to Cooperstown? Oh no, Field of Dreams outdraws the Cooperstown Museum probably 3-1. So they get a couple hundred kids there and their families for a week at a time.
Okay.
So, again, we're just seeing that they don't get it, and you brought them the solution 6 years ago.
Correct.
And now they're saying, oh, yeah, I got an idea. How about doing an air show? What? An air show? Well, we want to develop the airport. They're on the verge of running Hatsola Air out of here because they're going to develop the airport. We haven't had anybody build anything there in 30 years. They're the only ones that have made an investment in the airport there in 30 years.
Not only that, all the gas they use is gone.
Yeah, $15,000 a week.
Yeah.
And they get free fuel from a benefactor in White Plains. And they fly the planes up here to buy fuel just to be a good contributor. And we got Stewart Airport badly wants them. They got an Air Force facility that's not being used anymore. Their planes would fit in there. Again, and now they've got full-time people working at the airport. They want to run them out of here. It doesn't make any sense.
Because they don't do their homework.
Right.
They go in. This is what happens. They get their packet on Friday night. Okay. They don't read it. Okay.
Of course not.
They're told about it from the Ken Walters of the world. Okay.
Right.
They tell them what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then they tell them what's going on. Okay. And then they're like, oh, okay. So then they sit there, right, on the dais on Thursday, okay? And then if they're friendly with the people, like Matt was with his wife who used to present
the
SCVA, Matt went to school with Roberta's son, stuff like that, friendly stuff, right? Yeah. They would just sit there.
And Roberta would make the facility available for planning sessions on Tuesday.
Yeah, correct. And they, just sit there and they go, Josh, what do you think? Josh's like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
Then they would, and then they vote on what they feel in their belly, right? Right, because they don't understand the situation. And then there's like a little consensus going on there, and then they're like, oh, let's do that, okay?
Let ignorance rule.
Yeah, correct. And then ignorance is bliss.
Right.
And then they vote on it, and wherever way it goes, it goes. They never say, okay, after the first quarter, did they say we were down $2 million in sales tax?
No.
Did they do that? Did they have an emergency meeting 6 months in and say, oh my God, this is going off the rails. We need to fix this. Let's fix this now. They're saying, I want you to understand what they're saying. They're saying, we're going to let this whole year go by on this lie that we did last year.
Yep.
And we're going to try to fix it next year. You still have 6 months left of this year.
Right.
And you're going to let the whole year slide by.
Sure.
And not blink an eye at it.
Of course.
Okay? Not even blink an eye at it and be like, oh, just let it slide by. And let's try to figure out how we can blame Rob and his buddies on this deal. And let me tell you, that's been brought up before in private meetings. And people are like, don't do that because you're going to get hammered. You're going to get hammered on this because they refuse to understand their job because they feel their only job is to get elected.
Right. So folks, we want you to mark this episode of Ion Sullivan because I'm going to tell you something right now. This legislature is not going to pass a budget with a 30% tax increase. Why? Because next year's an election year.
Correct.
They're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to have to cut ultimately, and it's going to mean jobs.
Correct.
They're going to try to start with retrenchment. That's already started. You've got a couple of ADAs that went on to other positions, and they have not been permitted to be replaced.
Correct.
All right? So that's what you're going to see. But they're not going to be able to make up a 20% tax increase on $80 million. They're not going to do it with retrenchment. They're going to have to eliminate positions.
Correct.
And so you're going to see jobs cut. And this is the prediction. They're going to say, this is a horrible, horrible thing, but, we had no way of knowing sales tax revenue would be down. They're going to ride that horse all the way through the finish line when they created the problem by lying to you to try to create a fictitious budget with the hope that they would exceed the highest year this county has ever seen. That's who they are. Folks, stupid is a choice. You don't accuse people of corruption and these things, but you want to look at this and say, well, sales tax revenue is down because you overestimated it.
Correct.
Not because it's down, it's because you overestimated it.
Correct.
That's why it's
down.
You
lied to the people of Sullivan County.
Right.
Josh presented you a budget with 9%. You said, no, we're going to get down to 2%. By lying, let me give you another thing that they did, okay? And these numbers add up, okay?
Right.
30% increase to the treasurer's salary. $20,000 more to the assistant. These things start adding up when you're doing hundreds of these things, okay?
Sure.
Give you a prime example. They have these fly cars, right? You see them all over the county, right?
You see them and hear them.
Okay, you won't get into I won't get into the actual fly car business, but let me explain this to you. So part of their revenue was, projections was that fly car was going to create $250,000 in billing. Okay?
Right.
So part of their revenue scheme, lie, was that the fly cars was going to start billing and it was going to create $250,000 for this year. Okay?
That's $250,000, which would not probably cover the expenses of operating the fly cars.
But we're not into that.
Right,
okay?
I understand.
We were just talking about revenue, okay?
Right.
They only set the rates 3 weeks ago, right? So then you have to send it to Albany, and they have to approve it.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. They'll have 4 months left in the year of actually billing, okay? So you let 8 months go out, gone without billing a dime, okay, for your services, okay? So how do you get to $250,000 when it was an annual number,
right?
And you let, 75% of it go, not be recorded, right?
And again, the county is now in a business that they are competing against a private enterprise.
Multiple private enterprises.
So the tax dollars are competing against people that are employing people in the private sector.
And let me tell you something. Now this is starting to hurt, small town, ambulance corps.
Sure.
Right? For one thing, you're taking away people's desire to help. Volunteerism.
Right.
Okay? It's 8 degrees outside. Okay? The fly cars are driving around doing what they're doing. Okay? Why am I getting out of bed?
Right.
Okay, who takes the billing on that? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who's already on the road in a car moving around, or now I have to get dressed, get out to the site,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah, and if they beat me to the site, they get the billing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just went out there for nothing.
Right.
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 Right. Now, keep in mind they can't transport, so my team will get that billing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as the guy who drives the fly car, why am I getting out of bed?
Right.
So
Of course.
So you're usually taking your most your most senior person,
Right.
and taking away their desire to help.
Correct.
Right. And that over time that just deteriorates the whole core.
The whole core.
Right.
The
and
whole
this
core.
is what happens now. This core, who was billing before, is losing out on all this billing because
Right.
it's all going to the county now.
Correct.
Now they can't operate.
Correct.
Right? Now they can't operate. Now how do they operate? Right? But the county's losing money, and these guys were surviving before.
Right.
I mean, maybe they needed new radios or new pagers and stuff
Sure.
like that, which, by the way, we've helped them with in the past. Okay?
Yes, we have.
Right? But now you're spending $2.5 million on these fly cars
Yep.
and taking away, eliminating, ambulance corps all over the county.
And eliminating jobs
Correct.
and costing the county another $2.5 million, being in a business that's serviced by a private enterprise. And, okay, we had several meetings with the two biggest ones, who was
Correct.
Mobile Medic at the time, now Empress, and Hot Solar.
Correct.
And there was a bit of a turf war that went on. There was some strained feelings. We understand all that. And you did a masterful job of trying to mediate and say, look, here, we're all here for the same reason, and that's to help. But we know that there are people in the county that always wanted a county-run EMS.
Correct.
And they're heading down that path, which is, I don't have anything bad to say about county-run EMS other than 30% tax increase, folks. We can't keep putting private businesses and volunteer organizations out of business and then having it all be picked up by the public sector.
Correct.
If you got $2.5 million to invest in something, well, maybe we can help out these places. Maybe we say to Empress, you need 3 more rigs here, and the billing is going to be there because we're not going to take your billing away from you.
Correct.
But it just doesn't make any sense.
What does the government do more efficiently than private enterprise?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And that's the road we're going down.
That's the road we're going down.
That's
Well, the time is Jacob's asleep to switch. He didn't give us a 5-minute signal, but
he did. You blew him
but
off.
folks, we this is serious stuff, folks. You want to keep an eye on this stuff. We're going to keep an eye on it here for you because we just have to expose the inconsistencies in the statements coming out and how their excuses are really self-created. So, on behalf of the chairman, Rob Doherty, this is Mike McGuire reminding you to be sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, to
smash
that like button. You want to also drop us a line at iansullivan@gmail.com. You can leave a comment after you listen to or watch the show. Leave us a comment. You want to share the link with folks, the whole link preferably, because there's a lot of information here that you're just not going to get. Although you're going to get a lot of it from the River Reporter. I give them credit. We detract when we need to, but this is a pretty good article here on the sales tax
It was accurate.
issue. It was accurate all the way through. So again, on behalf of the chairman, Rob Doherty, this is Mike McGuire, thanking you for joining us for this episode of Ian Sullivan. We'll be back soon with another episode. Have a great and safe week, folks.